Woke up early one Monday morning and I had a bottle of rum in one hand and a 9mm in the other. And I asked God, fix me or take me. I couldn't live this way anymore.
I can't even begin to describe the anger that I felt, the hurt, the betrayal. I was bewildered.
It was a life most kids would dream of, I would think.
I grew up in the buckle of the Bible Belt in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I had what I think was a pretty good childhood.
Early 20s, that was the 70s and early 80s, and what we found was the Bahamas was way too close, or for our doings it was very close. As we spent most of our time, we were either smuggling dope in from the Bahamas, or I was on the street selling the dope.
Looking back on it, I was probably textbook codependent overachiever. Pretty soon after I moved here, I met Trey. We were introduced on a blind date, and he was unlike anybody I had ever dated before.
Surprise to me, probably not to many of my friends and family, I'd become a raging alcoholic. Everything I did was tied to alcohol.
I was out of town and he called me one day, and when he called to tell me that he was in love with my best friend and they wanted to get married, and I in the course of the next couple of minutes called her, she reaffirmed, because I thought it was a nightmare. It was early in the morning, I thought it was a bad dream. And yeah, God loves us and he wants us to be happy. This is God's will for our lives. We're soulmates. And I, after vomiting, you know, got up from the floor and I'm wailing. I have no idea what to do. I called George.
I woke up one Monday morning. I'd been drinking all night, was laying there, had a bottle of rum still beside me from the night before. And I looked over and I picked up a 9mm that I kept on the boat for security or be a tough guy, and my old ways were coming back. You had to have firearms. And I actually prayed to God that take me or fix me, that I couldn't go on. I couldn't believe the person I had become or realize the person I always was. So as I prayed there, I don't know what happened. It's kind of a blur, you know. Drunks at that point aren't too clear of what goes on, but I do know that I called my wife and asked her to come see me, for me, if I could come see her. And that's when the miracles began.
I ended up looking at him in all of his drunkenness at the time and feeling bad that this had happened, knowing that he had lost everything, and kind of almost as an outsider looking at it going, wow, you know, it would really stink to be him, wouldn't it?
That Sunday after that, I remember going to the altar and Pastor George put his hands on me, and I don't know if there was 100 people, 5, I don't know what was around us, but it was a change. Picked me up, picked us both up, and it just kept us going forward. For the next couple months, we worked hard in different recovery programs for myself and marriage programs for the two of us, and with our daughter, counseling.
When I did it, when I forgave Trey, it was like the biggest weight had been lifted from my life. And it was huge. And I fell in love with him all over again in a brand new way. He's a man of God now, like I never dreamed I could be privileged enough to be married to.
Before I was, what did they say, I had a drug problem, I was drugged to church. My wife came to church. My daughter came to church. I came to church occasionally. I lived on the theory I could worship God anywhere, out fishing or anything else. The only thing is I forgot when I was out there to worship God. And the truth be known, many a days with my alcoholic problem, either I was drunk from the night before or I was drunk here. So it took getting a clear head and getting sober and actually opening my eyes and seeing what was here. I think what it is just because I quit drinking and God fixed everything and everything's good, the church just got a lot better. It wasn't that way before, you know.
Yeah. We spend a lot of time doing kingdom work, and I love that. I attribute a lot of our success in getting through this to Grace Church, obviously to God, but through Grace Church, God's work was done.
The more we put into the church, the more we're here and the more active we are, the better our life is. We've lost a bunch of money in this economy. I mean, a bunch to us, some people not, some people more. And so we have a lot less than we had, but none of that matters. Seems like the more we give, the more we get.
I feel like I'm living a fairy tale. I feel like I finally got my happily ever after.
In John 21:15, Jesus asked Peter the question, "Peter, do you love me?" And Peter replied, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." Jesus instructed Peter, "Then feed my sheep." Our church is made up of compassionate and caring members and supporters who have responded like Peter by feeding Christ's sheep through our programs and outreach ministries. And it is through faithful giving that these ministries have grown. Giving is directly linked to compassion and answering Christ's call to discipleship. It's spiritual, not financial. True, the specific dollar amount a person can give is financial, but the quality of the decision is determined by the spiritual condition of a person's heart. As Christians, we are called to be faithful and generous stewards of all God's creation. Remember, the highest expression of giving is God's eternal gift of Jesus Christ. He gave in love without measure, and He expects us to do the same. Giving is an outward expression of our willingness to return thanks, to follow in Peter's footsteps, feeding God's sheep by giving unselfishly and compassionately as an act of discipleship. In the coming weeks, we will learn what it means to be willing to grow. We encourage you to examine your own personal relationship with Jesus Christ and how it is reflected in your Christian giving. As you consider your faith commitment to Grace Church, view your gift as the need of every Christian to give. May God bless you.